Good morning. I'm going to title this video Cognitive Dissonance and COVID-19. And the reason I want to combine those two things is because cognitive dissonance is a phrase that covers something that we all do, which is that if you are uncertain and somebody comes along and presents you with a complete alternative, even if it's got authority behind it, the natural thing to do is to dismiss it, not to watch it, not to hear it, and to stick with the accepted point of view. And today, I've been looking to do a video to put up on our Life Path channel for a little while, and today that reason has come, and as I say, it combines COVID-19 and cognitive dissonance, because cognitive dissonance is at the root of every miserable thing that happens in this world, from why people stay on heroin, why people remain alcoholics, why they continue to do destructive things, why it is we rationalize all the time, that we're happy in our jobs when we're not, most of us, because the alternative involves breaking free from what is a very miserable comfort zone. And this morning, I've had proof, absolute proof, of what a lie this all is. And I know in my heart why it's happening. It's not because of conspiracy theories. It's not because that's a plot by the Illuminati. It's not any of this. It's simply to do with cognitive dissonance. So, what happened this morning? I went down to a co-op, which I do quite regularly, and of course outside the very small co-op there was a small queue of people, and as I came past I thought, what the fuck? Because I could see nobody in the shop, but there was a girl standing there with a bloody mask on who was actually telling people that they couldn't go in. And I thought, I might stop here and go in and say, please tell me how many people need to be in the shop, because every shop it's a different number. And I thought, I haven't got time to do that, so I went on to the bigger co-op and went in. And of course, as I went round the ridiculous, pointless one-way system, there were a queue of people. And I deliberately chose not to wear a mask at that particular time. I'll probably get prosecuted for saying this, but I hadn't got a mask on at that particular time. And there was a nice, lovely bloke behind me who saw I hadn't got a mask on. He had one on his face, and he pulled it down because he didn't want to wear it. He said it's so uncomfortable. And then we got into an amazing conversation, and he said, I'm looking at this, and I feel in my heart that this is a load of rubbish. But I don't know what to do, because I don't want to get into arguments with people, because, I've got to defend myself against what I feel is happening. Anyway, we went further into the conversation, and in the last few days, I've signed a petition for cancer patients who are not being treated, because the government appears to be happy that cancer patients die, but that COVID-19 patients are treated, which seems very, very wrong. Well, this guy has a friend whose grandmother died recently at the age of 74, and she died of cancer recently because her cancer treatment had been stopped because of COVID-19. And he said he is appalled to hear that on the death certificate, COVID-19 was put down as the cause of death when she didn't even have it. It was cancer. And he was very angry about this. Now, the point about all this is that let's just consider what's actually happened. The government didn't follow their instincts, which were to let herd immunity happen, which would have meant there were a lot more deaths initially, but we would have come out of this an awful lot quicker. And they chose to listen to scientific advice because that means that they're not responsible for it. But so Boris Johnson, who comes across as this very confident, bullish kind of guy. Actually, inside, he's not at all confident. That masks the fact that he is a little boy, really at heart, right out of his depth. So when he goes up there, he talks with authority, but actually, under the surface, he's being told what to do by the politicians, but that does, by the doctors, who have now largely disappeared. Now, the point about what's going on with Boris Johnson is it is cognitive dissonance, which is that if you're the leader of a country and you want to be seen as authoritative and credible, and you've made decisions behind doctors, because by doing that you avoid the responsibility. That doesn't mean your instincts have stopped working. You know in your heart of hearts that this is a load of shit. Because you know it's a load of shit, what's going to happen is that you're going to oscillate between thinking, do I say it's a load of shit, we made a terrible mistake, and admit it and come clean, or do I carry on? And the deeper you carry on, the more bullshit is put in place and the more difficult it is to escape. Because what's actually happening is that right across the country, people are complying, but in their hearts and in their instincts, this feels more and more absurd. But when somebody like me takes a mask off or does something which actually challenges the status quo, what happens is that, and this happened in the shop this morning, a guy said he'd hear me talking in quite an animated way about the way that we're all cooperating with this and what we're going to have to pay for it eventually and what a mess it's making of the world. And obviously he's taking that in, but it's hitting the point at which he wants to agree with me. He can see it. But then if he says, I agree with you, he's got to take his own mask off and never put on again. And then other people would look at him and as though he was a pariah. So he said, it'd be better if you wore a mask. I said, look, you read the information out there that is publicly available, and then come back next time I see you if you feel that you are still right, because you are wrong. And then he shut up. So the point about all this is that we all have voices in our heads which oscillate. You know, your instinct says one thing and your head says another. And that's going on everybody across the country. Now, I don't want to fuel the energy of a civil war, because in the end, Johnson has been elected by us to be the leader of the country, and we should have worked out a long, long time ago that they never make it better, they make it worse. We should a long time ago have stood up and said, this isn't working, we're going to find another way. We want to remove you and find a better way that isn't cobbled together in 5 minutes. So he's wished to be Prime Minister. Many people, you've heard the phrase, be careful what you wish for. He wished to be the person who saved the country, and he's actually going to be the person who may go down as the person who damned the whole country. Proof, do not wish for something unless you've thought through all of the implications and responsibilities of it. No politician has done that, possibly, other than to some extent Winston Churchill, who had a very different life, very much like Boris Johnson when he was young, arrogant, pompous, self-important, and made terrible mistakes in the First World War. Then he became a pariah for years, he was ignored, and eventually, after going through depression and serious illness, he became Prime Minister because he'd been through enough to have a degree of humility emerge. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope that you will see how cognitive dissonance is what keeps people following paths that they don't want. It's the reason Heroin addicts keep on injecting themselves with heroin. It's the reason why people drink themselves to death and tell themselves that they love alcohol when actually they don't. They love the person who they are with. If they love alcohol, then they're putting the alcohol on the same page as the person they are with, which is absurd. The language we use is the problem with everything. And we need to listen not to the voice of our head, the voice of insecurity and doubt. We need to listen to our hearts. Thanks for watching. Cheers for now. Bye.
They tell you black is white, it'll be okay. Whilst they get you to work for peanuts paid, you fear that you know the ones who wear sharp suits. As through crocodile smiles they steal from you.